to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Support.
A motion
Oh,
support?
wait, we gotta do it for Sarah.
Oh. So, next moving approval of the agenda.
Second by Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle, second. Sarah, can you see us now, or should we keep talking?
She can hear.
You can hear but can't see.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so we had a motion for the approval of the agenda. Is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed would be no. Motion is carried, we've approved the agenda. And really, the one item we have is discussion on requirements and process for interviewing city manager candidates. At this point, we've got some, it's not gonna go the way we thought, or where we originally hoped. What had happened is you are aware we had a committee that looked at the applications. That committee, it was Nick, Roxanne, and myself. We scored the applications and we picked, we came up with the top 6 that we actually had a phone interview with. And then we scored those 6 after that interview process and came up with our top 4, intending to interview 3 and having one kind of an alternate in case one dropped out. At this point, we've had 3 drop out. They took another job in another direction, so. So the next step is going to be, either we can continue down the road, just interview one candidate and go forward and see if that works or not. We can bring in the last 2 of the 6. And so we'd interview 3 again. We'd be back to 3, assuming they would all show up and be interested in the job still. Or basically, I guess we'd start it over, repost the job and go back to go and start over. Or whatever else is your pleasure. So I guess it's open to discussion at this point. It's clearly not what we intended to talk about tonight, but
Well, I would like to interview the person we had in the top 3 that's still available, at least if we can, I mean, if that's reasonable to do. And Nick had mentioned something about if we had an ending date with the other posting, if we just keep the posting open until we do the interview and decide, and then if the interview doesn't go the
I
way.
believe we didn't have an ending date.
Okay.
Until positions filled. So there's no ending date, but I don't believe we've been getting any more applications either.
I did get a late one on the 22nd.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the other thing, which I assume we do, which is, as you look at the process, people who are in the folks that are being nominated, we could also do foundations of the commissioners or other, so that we can move if we can, we can also, we can do more process, we can do that. We're going to search up, which is making untoward, I don't see this in, there's some other people that could get on with that. So, no one's at the source of it, so many people want to do it, that's another thing to do. I would recommend we continue with the interview process with people open. It's the commissioner's point. And some of the party.
No.
There would also be potentially 3 more that we interviewed by phone, that were not chosen, that might still be available.
No, there were only 2 more.
2 more,
Two
2 more,
Two more
okay.
plus the one.
So there were 6 originally.
Okay.
And we haven't looked at the, I mean, it's not late, I guess, if we never closed the,
No.
So we can still look at that, I
What
guess.
you typically do is, for full consideration, have it by a certain deadline, but then if things come in after, and something happens to your search or something, those still can be considered.
do we make a motion on what we want to do?
Well,
Or
I
maybe
guess
just, if
I-
there's no discussion, I mean, I don't, I mean, I said, I mean, I would like to do the interview, so I don't know how we go from there. I mean, he was in the top three, he was, you know, had ranked this candidate high. I feel like if we wait, we're run the possibility of him taking something else, and, I mean, I just don't think we need to wait forever. I mean, if an interview doesn't go well, I mean, I'm not saying that, I don't know if that's unusual to just do one interview. I don't know. I don't normally do this.
We're definitely in unusual times in any number of ways right now, so I don't, we're free to.
It's a different type of organization.
Right.
This is where it's, you have to interview three, but in places where it's maybe 15 as well. And it could be a strong person from the unit, for some reason, you keep that kind of a lot of times you're going to say, you know, so it's just,
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of.
Yeah, I was kind of letting people kind of digest for a minute,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I'm not good at waiting and digest. Sorry.
Well, yeah,
People
it's-
can wait, and we can, I just may doze off, that's all. So wake me up if we digest too long.
I think I agree with that the one candidate should be interviewed relatively soon.
The 14th.
Yeah, 14.
Preliminary meeting, yes. So we can certainly go through with that. And then assuming we talked a little bit in the committee about what that day might look like, bringing the candidates in, give them a tour of the city, meeting with department heads, and then concluding the day with a city commission meeting, unless, as a group, and talking to everybody.
Yep, I wasn't talking at that time.
That was me talking, did you hear me?
I'll shout. Test. Got it?
What is anybody else, any other thoughts other than that? I mean,
Still think that we're should have an interview. So, he's on that, that's why I said, we both need, the other candidate, we can get it about this as well. Maybe phone calls would be going with maybe, like, anything that's going on. Somebody would be, I feel that we should have an interview just out of courtesy of being in 22 years here at this city. So that would be something that I would still like to see happen.
I would agree with that.
You know, I agree with that.
I would concur.
Both of those extras? That would give us three.
It's hard for me to know because I was involved in the first interview, so I don't know if they will. You guys would have to make that decision.
None of us who were not on that committee, I think, can make any kind of decision. You guys might know that, well, one of them was halfway good, one of them, not so much, kind of thing.
I didn't see the resume.
No.
Yeah.
It might be worth it to at least do an initial screening on the November 22nd candidate, just to do a phone call, follow-up or something like that as well.
And moving forward, if it was very rough on myself and I believe the other commissioners that weren't, I'm correct me if I'm wrong. When Eric was told that he wasn't gonna give an interview, it went out and got out in the community and we received several phone calls, emails, stopping in the store. And, we didn't have, I personally did not have a reasoning why. So, it would have been nice to receive an email to let us know that before I went to the public.
I thought Nick gave a report saying how we ranked, I mean, didn't we have a meeting, am I wrong, that, where he gave a report of how we ranked things, and, I mean,
Well, I think maybe that's probably, I guess, my fault, because I wanted to give Eric a advance notice, so I did speak with him prior to our meeting, I believe I already talked about it. Because I wanted to give him the courtesy of not hearing it publicly, elsewhere, other than a public meeting.
If
well, so
something
if
like
he
that-
shared that, I mean, I didn't share that information as far as who, because we were told we had to get the permission or whatever from the people to have their names released, so if I misunderstood that, I mean, I wasn't sharing that.
No,
Yeah,
Eric,
sure,
Eric has a
we
right because people
I'm
are
not
asking
saying he
him, you
didn't.
know,
Correct.
when are his interviews, or and he says, I was told I wasn't gonna be interviewed, that spreads like wildfire, y'all know, and then we got
Well, let's just
calls.
clarify, he was given a phone interview,
Interview.
just like.
Yeah.
other people.
Right, but to the second step, you know, like, nobody knew that we did phone interviews. So, you know how the community is, when you hear something, is the assistant manager, city manager getting an interview? And Eric could have said, second, I'm not advancing, or whatever, get us out in the world. So I'm just asking to please be informed if something like this was ever come up again, so that when get phone calls and such, that we're aware of it.
But from the people that have spoken, I don't think it was corrected to people that there was a first round of interview. I mean, I think people thought that there were no interviews at all. I mean, that wasn't corrected, and, I mean, everyone should have known that we did a first round of interviews, so. I mean, here, everyone knew that we
Yes,
were doing
did
that,
know,
but I don't know that
didn't
anyone
know- I
was
knew we did
correcting
the first
people in the
interviews,
public.
but I wasn't told that Eric didn't make it to the second round. I heard it from people, you know, I don't know if they heard it from Eric or, I believe that they had a meeting, and the meeting, you know, Greg wanted, I don't know how it got told, but it was told, of course, it needs to be told to all the department heads. And then when people get asked, in the same, I think that we could take it as a better step as respect to all the employees and the commissioners. But I'm asking.
We are concerned with, us communicating as a group. As well. So we need to be careful of that.
I mean, I think as someone that wasn't in the meeting, it's gonna be hard for me to gauge a single candidate without reference to anything else. Because I trust your guys' ability to decipher between all the candidates and filter it into 6 and then down to 3. I trust that. But when I speak to just one person, I have zero frame of reference. They may do terrible, but I think they knock it out of the park because I just don't know.
Yeah, nobody-
I just don't
Well,
know.
and correct me
And
if
so-
I'm wrong, but like Greg said, that we can't all get together.
No, I
No
totally
one
agree.
called me and asked me
I-
anything about any of the interviews. You all individually could have called me, and I would have given you any information. I didn't feel that it was something that we were supposed to be publicly sharing, because there are people's personal, I mean, I don't know what the rules are, but I know we can't just blurb that stuff out to the world. But if someone, and I can't get together with all of you, or it's a public meeting, but if anyone had called me personally, I would have answered questions and told you what the process was.
I agree, but there's also a sense where, as I look at it, I'm
No, I
trying.
understand.
I'm
I
trying to
agree.
make an informed decision with my own perspective without, and so I refrain from those conversations because there are people that work in this building that want the position. There are other positions that people in this building may want, and so I try to separate myself from those decisions, so then I come into it without a preconceived notion or not even a bias, but obviously you may view different parts of a candidate different than I do, and I think that's what makes this important, and that's why we're looking at it from the factor of all 7 of us, and so I think that's personally why
No,
I
and
did
again,
yeah.
correct me, I mean, I'm not saying that I am a, knowledgeable HR person, but my understanding was that we volunteer a
Mm-hmm.
subcommittee, we did what we were supposed to do, and once people had signed off, said their names could be released, and we had people, that we would be discussing this, but,
Mm-hmm.
may be wrong. I thought that was,
No,
we
that was-
because as we were
that was
trying
planned. I
to,
mean,
as
that
we were
was-
trying to get the people, then, they took other jobs, so we didn't
Yes.
get to the point where I thought we had our list and we were gonna have a conversation about it. But again, I was open to anyone reaching out if they had questions or concerns or wanted to know my perspective. And again, if I can only speak of my perspective and how
I think it's hard for a candidate, in my eyes, to stand out if you're the only one. So I would agree with Audra in saying that. I believe, Eric should as well get an interview. Obviously, maybe he didn't move through that, obviously, he didn't move through that first round, but we're in a different situation now, so I think you gotta broaden the scope a little bit. And then I also like what Nick said initially about, hey, maybe we take some recommendations to either fill that third spot, or the committee, I don't know who that other candidate was, that obviously is not on the list, but maybe we move through to get at least a frame of reference for three people.
I'm trying to get in the timeline.
Yep.
There was the one you're talking about, which is before all this, and yours is as we get to bring people in.
Correct.
You would prefer to say, I don't want to just do them one at a time, you would say, I want to line them up and see how they fit.
And they don't
What's a
have-
goodness of fit when I look at those three?
And it doesn't have to be all the same day, but if at least we
No.
have a plan that, hey, it's this one and I'm looking for it, okay, that's candidate A, let's see how candidate B does in comparison, and they may knock it out of the park, but I won't know until.
In my head, and because of, actually, I'm gonna move up to that
Mhm.
part of the process. My ideal, there's probably real discussion. My
Right.
ideal would be, each person gets their.
I would
And
agree.
I would also, when you bring someone, as you bring them in, you also give them a chance to play facilities, you give them a chance to city, you have a city realtor, do those things that say, if you're gonna come this way, so my personal preference, and that really burdens these guys and that burdens the commission, because a lot of you work, actually. And so part of that would be creating a data so something can get as much a full measure, and we get a full measure. If I'm, it's myself, interviews is not necessarily the best way to do it. But we need fuller information. It's 8 pieces of what we're doing, how do they do with different groups, because different groups are going to just do something different perspective. If I was doing it, I'd really, it's really.
I like that better than
It's that-
pitting.
I've been really reluctant about that because of your plan, your plan. So, ideally, I would want to do that, because I think you want that kind of time.
And I guess I don't know, I don't know how we're gonna get everybody that put out the logistical. Yeah, but even 5 hours with the commission, or, I mean, that's,
Not with the commission, I mean, because, and
You
this,
could-
I sent Tony away, I shouldn't, but Tony, but some meetings have to be open, some do not. That,
right, you
for
could,
example, the directors can have a closed meeting because they're not elected officials. They're ranked, I'm assuming, using that standard, just general employees can have a meeting with that candidate.
You have to hand them off, like you have to have Mark take them on a tour for an hour and then he hands them off.
Right,
You
yeah,
have
or
to
walk
do
them
it.
over to the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
meeting.
Mhm.
But you wouldn't, so it would be presumably about an hour. of the
but we
employee's
wouldn't have to do that necessarily on the same day that they're gonna meet with the commission. They could come on their own and any
You
given
could have-
day and get that
you could-
done.
You could do, yeah, I don't know, logistically, this is
I
where
think that's the only way,
it
because
gets
there's no way we're
complicated
gonna
for my
meet.
little brain, but it's just, yeah, you could do the interviews and then the commission pieces would be one special meeting, right?
Yeah.
In the evening, we're gonna do it.
Perhaps we could stick with the 14th, we could offer that opportunity for that,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
Sherry,
mean,
could we
if I was,
arrange that with the individuals, so they have the opportunity?
and then what we probably ought to have, and you might be able to get through online, is some kind of evaluation form, so we can gather that. And that would be data that would be useful actually for the commissioners to see. So when they come to the interview with us, we would know, this is how the
Staff evaluation.
staff evaluations, this is what, good folks said, this is some of the stuff we heard from.
But that's a standard, so that's not
Yeah,
all
so it's,
seven
so it's
different-
kind of shape it a little bit. I mean, there's gonna
Everybody
be,
answers the same
there's
questions.
always time for, at the end, you can ask for
Right.
comments, so you get that qualitative stuff, but you would know just a couple of things.
Would it be logistically possible to piggyback them? 9 o'clock candidate one starts with
You
Mark
could-
for an
You could
hour?
like a shotgun start.
Yeah, like a shotgun start.
Theoretically, you could do that, but
You can work in their schedules as well.
Yeah.
Right, I know, but I mean, and then
It may
at
not
10
be
o'clock,
possible to get it-
one moves to Lori, 2 goes to Mark, yeah, that kind of thing. Shoots a whole day on who's ever parked there, or,
Just found 3 events to
yeah,
do.
there you go, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go.
since it's, I mean, thoughts, any thoughts from Gallery? It seems to be too far into the commission. Sorry, I'll speak up.
I'm not opposed to that, and I like the idea of having some input. Nice for us, I think.
Would our input be public information, with our names being on it? The only reason I say that is obviously this is potentially somebody we're working for.
No, that should.
No, I don't,
I just didn't know legally what the rules of that were.
When we did the interviews for Sherry, we didn't have our names on, we just did our evaluation and turned it in. So I'm assuming that's how we did it.
you could do it, just.
It's just, you know, we all had the same questions for each candidate.
And you,
And actually, the numbers could all be
you could do an aggregate too. so-
aggregated before we see any of it.
So I've done it places where it's actually an online kind of thing. Mark would go in and say, you know, there's like 8 dimensions, 1, 2, 3, 4 comments. That goes in, Sherry aggregates it, there's no names. We never would see those. Shouldn't. It's not our idea. What we would want to know is, when this person scored well this week, didn't score high this week, or, you know, whatever. But that would, I agree, you know, you wouldn't want individual. That would be what
No.
And I can, you know, I'll look for sure, evaluation or something like that. I'm not trying to take over.
So you're retiring, you're gonna need it.
I'm retired, and I'll be paid every
Out
penny
of
I'm
all of
worth.
us up here, you're
Yeah.
the retired one, so.
You'll
there you
even
go.
double my pay for this,
Right,
won't you?
yeah.
That's
Okay.
what happens when you run the retirement.
So
What's
there-
the rub that-
Sam, you gotta work for a living.
Yeah, I do, you do.
Or centers.
Yeah.
Taking a
So I
step
guess
backwards for
it's-
just
it's-
1 minute, one thing that I see that just pops into my head against having just a one candidate interview. And then, I mean, that, in 2 years from now, we have the excuse, yeah, but we didn't have any choice. You know, with it. Turns
Yeah.
out to be not so good. It's,
Well, and I agree, I think, you know, Danny is absolutely right, having one candidate is not really much of a selection or
No,
anything
it
to do a
isn't.
comparison on, and, which I guess, if the group is comfortable, I would like the 3 of us to reassemble and take a review of this new candidate, and perhaps look at that other one that was out there too, and invite one at least of them, if that's appropriate, to go through the same process, so that we do have more than, in this case, 2, if we can get to 3 or 4, I would say all the better. You know, we originally were hoping for at least 3, we kind of picked 4, thinking of an alternate, but, and then, you know, then initially the thinking was, well, why if we could actually go to 4, but
yeah.
sometimes it gets too much, too.
We don't violate the
Right.
meeting law.
So I wanna make sure though that there is one of those. Because I feel like maybe there's something that I can. Does that make sense?
I think we have to make a motion.
No, what I'm saying is, Eric, it's pretty clear that commissioners want Eric, and then one of the other 2, whichever, or both, if they both seem to be, I mean, one clearly we thought was qualified.
And maybe we need to.
And perhaps the new one is, perhaps the other one isn't, but we don't know that. But at least 1 more, if not 2 more, and that's, you know, assuming that people show up still. I mean, they're dropping like flies, and That's why I really hate to, I'd still like to keep the 14th on the calendar. We've kind of made it, penciled it in for the candidate we have. And then, in my thinking, and tell me if this is not what you're saying here, but my thinking is that I'd allow Sherry, once we know these candidates, to arrange with department heads, you know, according to the candidate schedule and what you can schedule with department heads, get that done, you know, without us. So that happens hopefully before the 14th. We'll have a chance to come in and look at the community and perhaps, if possible, one or two commissioners, three commissioners could come in and say hi to them or whatever at different times. There could be some time, opportunities, not all of us at once certainly, but you could incorporate that into the day too, so you could come in and, you know, just have a chance to meet and greet type thing in small numbers. And not, nothing real in depth, but,
It gives us 2 weeks.
yeah. I think we need to move fast, or it seems, I mean, the way people drop on us, I mean, it's not just here, it's other communities who's going through the same process, so. Some are ahead of us, and some, I'm sure there's more coming behind
We
us, so.
don't have any-
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Sarah? I dropped my voice. I'm blaming.
Nick, you had mentioned the commissioners bringing forth a name. What would that look like? We just give you a name and then the committee then pursues them, engages their interest,
What
or?
we could do, I mean, I didn't.
I like
think
the
any
idea
further-
of that.
I didn't think it any further than that, to be honest with you, Danny. I was thinking, as you start looking into a pool and you get, what, there may be some of whom are like, oh, maybe we can kind of have that skill set.
But is the application still online? Okay, well, so posting
So
still
if you
online,
had
so I
someone,
say
you would
that
reach out to them and
The way to handle
have
it
them.
is just to have them reach out just like the other candidates, go online to our website.
Every time you get to the
Have
website.
them
probably
apply or
the
send their
better way to
resume
go
in,
around
and-
You might guess to what signal this, you just say, yeah, you send a little information. And you have fill out the application. That would be another, we would know the best disposition of something. It's no different than a reference, you just put it in front of it.
In my mind, we have,
I
but,
think so.
does people have questions? What I'm hearing is that we will interview, hopefully, 3 to 4 candidates. And we'll get together and look at the new one, and we'll invite our other alternate, as well as perhaps this new candidate. And then Sherry's gonna get with some department heads as soon as she can get some meetings arranged with that, she'll announce the times to everybody, when the candidates will be in town. Perhaps leave a window of opportunity for some commissioners to stop by, but we have to schedule it through Sherry, so we don't know if someone show up at once, because that's not a good thing. Does that seem reasonable? And then on the 14th, we'll bring them all back and do our panel interviews.
Do you want to talk about what people look like, or?
Absolutely, but I think, wanted to get here first. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this was the first step, 'cause
Yeah, no, I think that's.
I thought this is where we were going to start tonight, quite honestly, is what our plan was.
Is the 14th a regular meeting?
14th is a regular
Mhm.
meeting. So we'll make light of the agenda. I think we should have plenty of time now if we wanted to start earlier in the day, if there's interest in doing that.
To call people tomorrow, or you guys get together, this seems, okay. I'm just saying, it seems, the weeks go by so fast for me,
Yeah.
but it seems like all of a sudden we're gonna be here and.
I think anything past the 14th one, then we'll be talking
Yeah.
because there's no way you're gonna get into this Christmas.
No, and the other thing is, because it feels like we've been at this for quite a while, and over the time, we've just seen candidates drop off, they're getting other jobs, so the longer we wait, the less chance we have of not completely starting over.
Honestly, if they're not interested in trying to make it work to come here for a couple hours, then they really aren't interested in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this ought to be a pretty high priority for anybody, and
You
it's,
know, when we hired the chamber director, I mean, he came up first on his own, after we were lucky restaurants and did different things, and then came back for the interview, and spent some more time, so I mean, I think that level of interest in wanting to be a part of the community is really apparent in that, just based on all of that, so. Really feel fine with it.
And if they don't, if they have, things happen in life, if there's, people that get sick and whatnot, if that happens, then we can certainly accommodate those things as well if we need to.
And I said to Nick, like, if we were before the 14th, if, obviously, Eric, the things that he's done for Alma, if we were to get the names, if they are currently city manager somewhere else, I would like to drive and just check out there. So if I could get their names and what town they're from.
As soon as we have the
Yeah.
permission to get it public, and we're hoping to do that
Yeah.
prior to this.
I just like to drive around and see what the town's like and,
Yeah, if you happen to know somebody in those towns.
yeah,
it's-
just be a little private investigator.
I'm just thinking, would an option be, if for some reason they can't make it to Elma, would there be an option to do like a Zoom with a couple of the department heads, just?
I would be fine with that, if the department heads are okay with it. I think you're missing out on,
I do too, but
Some
I just,
window.
let's say,
It's-
someone's
I'd say our-
daughter is dying in a hospital
Yeah.
and they can't do it any other,
Yeah.
just as a,
yes.
I mean,
That would be
it's
an
an
alternative.
alternative.
Or a
You could-
snowstorm,
Like
let's
for
just
a
say
snowstorm.
snowstorm.
It's not killing
Or
us.
snow.
that does sound like a yeah, but,
It's an ice storm outside, they can't make it. Yeah.
just thinking,
Don't bump anybody.
if it was some kind of,
Yeah. Yeah, I
Extraordinary, yeah, well, that would expedite it.
Yeah. Yeah, just keep things moving, that would be better than.
I've used my new phone to write down questions and I got about when we get to that part. If you've seen me on my phone, I'm just looking for.
For the questions for the candidates.
Yeah. I just wondered if this is what we do and that's why I'm on my phone, I'm not just.
The way we did the phone interviews was we had a list of questions that Sherry developed for us, and we asked every candidate the same questions and evaluate them. So I think we need to, I would recommend, I guess,
Usually you start.
that same,
You have a core of the same
And then you
questions,
have
but your
some
follow-up,
conversation
your
after.
follow-up questions tend to be the ones that are more than. So,
so I would think we'd start with a core of questions like that. and-
you can send them to all of us.
Are you talking about notes for the interview?
No, I had just done some research, like questions to ask during an interview, type thing.
Oh, good.
Because I haven't personally interviewed anybody before, so I wasn't sure how it was. So my dad was a human resources director, and he was telling me where there's some water, so I was looking at my taking notes, and I snapped a sentence. So I just had some questions written down, and I haven't interviewed before, but I've been an interviewer, so I just wanted to know.
Yeah, and I
We
would
just asked.
probably work with Sherry on that. I assume you're okay developing a set of questions again for us to?
yeah, I've already
Okay, I thought so.
Oh.
So,
I
we
just,
can mix and match.
I just asked my dad. 'cause
Or if anybody
I said
else
he
has
hired
ideas,
hundreds of
it's-
people.
Is there an opportunity for them to present something, so instead of it all being reactionary where they're answering questions, you actually get to see them lead
I
a
mean,
room?
One of the things I don't know, I have to ask Tony or Sarah can find out about this. One of the sessions while they're here could be this chance for the public to come in and that's just like, and then they'll make a presentation about their vision for the city. You give them a topic that they can present for 10 minutes on. That's another way to go.
Yes.
See how they interact with the
But
community.
that's a lot to ask them. Are you talking
You know,
after
well,
December 14th? 'Cause
I'm talking when they
I'm
come and
just-
interview with these guys, and yes, it is a lot to ask, but it's a big job.
And I'm
should
just
be able
saying
to
that,
Pull it off. I mean, it's, answer questions. I
It
mean,
gives-
it's.
gives you a bit of a hint too as to whether they've done their homework into what Alma is all about.
I've done a lot of interviewing, a lot of homework, and I can't stand when people come in and from the interview and they, first of all, know nothing about the agency. When a simple Google search will give you our website, it
Everything.
takes 10 seconds to, I can't stand that. But then also, I find too that like, yes, the questions are nice to have to kind of guide you through, but sometimes too, just some actual back and forth and conversation, you learn more than those, kind of standard questions too, so.
And that's why you don't want more than one or two questions per commissioner
Yeah.
to be canned.
So if we can kind of go a little,
Which also happens to be the ride with the realtor or someone around town. I find driving someone back and forth to the realtor used to be one of those.
Mhm.
So,
No, the informal conversations are,
yeah,
We're not
and
gonna-
sometimes some of the red flags will come up during
it's,
those too.
they do.
You're like, oh.
They do.
I don't know about that.
So, at least that.
so then there's, and it sounds like, yeah, commissioners could sit in on some of that if we wanted to ask for a presentation, I guess. Are we gonna ask them to do some sort of presentation or just have a session open to the public and?
I think the committee can look at it and say, hey, these are our candidates. I think it would be viable to have someone, maybe they didn't phone interview the best, but maybe that's not their strong suit. Maybe their strong suit is leading a group in front of people. I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard for me to answer without knowing. I think it's something that I think that committee can look at and say, hey, what's the best use of these individuals' time? I think we come from a similar background, Nick, in terms of how we interview people at colleges and how you bring them in, and the first thing you do is campus tour. And, so that's very familiar to me.
Yeah,
So I think,
Yeah, and I know it's a different world, but it's just,
Well, I think that's pretty common in business and everything else too. We've done the same thing.
You could-
Too
we
many
could-
facilities and need people.
without filling out specific times, we could put together a template of all of that. Tour of town, tour of facilities, interview with directors, interview with staff, presentation for the, and then come back and do some of the first 5 events that that person would have. We could put something
So you're
together.
wanting all that on the 14th, or? you
No,
just
that
want
would be,
No,
those
as
would
much
be
of
the
it
days
ahead of
before.
time
The
as possible.
14th is just with the city commission. Got it? Yeah.
The 14th is just with you.
Just with, that would be coming probably, maybe we'd start a meeting around or something. and have a meeting before. I'm making all this up as I go, but I'm thinking, the other part is they have maybe 4 or 5 hours where they're in Alma, they get a chance to go to see, they get a chance to interview with various folks. One would be the public presentation part.
That's pretty much next week.
Yeah, next weekend, or beginning of the, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just so you know, we do have open enrollment this week.
Open enrollment for,
Well, that's no big deal.
Hopefully that's online.
Tuesday and Thursday,
yeah.
3 sessions each day, so I'll do what I can.
What else?
I think the presentation thing would be kind of interesting if we kept it to like 5 minutes to do at the city commission for everybody to see. What do you see as the future of Alma? Just, something that's very nebulous like
Everybody
that,
gets the same
but
thing.
indicates that they have looked into what the past and the present of Alma, just something along those lines. I think I would find that interesting.
and something they're completely in control with. It's like, this is their best foot forward,
Right.
not nerves. It's not,
Right.
this is who I am as hopefully a leader. Obviously, in 5 minutes, that's a broad statement, but
Mhm. Yeah.
at least
It is, but
it's
yeah.
at
Yeah.
least a picture of what the position should look like.
Yeah. Be interesting. Additional comments, questions? Do you think we have a plan? Okay. I think we're moving forward then. So
Present
then,
all to Sherry on Friday.
yeah, commissioner comments. Roxanne, you want to go first?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Audra?
Yes,
Michelle?
Just sending all of our prayers and thoughts to the children killed today in Africa. Leaving.
High school shooting in Oxford. 3 dead, 6 wounded.
Yep. Mhm. Sarah, did you hear anything yet? Are you still with us? From afar? Okay. Yeah. Nothing? Nothing for me, it seems everybody had hopefully a happy Thanksgiving and looking forward to a good holiday season here, so, certainly Michelle, echo the prayers for the families involved in that shooting, and the community there, it's gonna be tough for the entire community, I'm sure, and just, tough for all of us as we think about it, and there's other things that happen, so. With that, we'll open to the public. Any members of the public like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts. Staff is available too, so that's all we have here. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I see none, so we'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Everybody have a great evening.
Oh.